Alright, this is IMAX Nation 1980 here with the Beatles record collection continued. Over here, we have the Revolver. You've already seen the cover in the previous one. I'll show it to you again. This is a much later pressing. It's on Apple. Not sure what year, probably early 70s. Like I said, US version. Alright, next up is a big one. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, originally released June 1st, 1967, one day later in the United States. Awesome album cover, awesome album. All around great. This is the US version, of course. I don't have the British editions of this album. What's interesting about this one, and my dad got this one for me at a swap meet. Let me just show you the famous gatefold here. There we go. Legendary photo right there. What's interesting about this album, this pressing, is that not only is it the mono version, and the mono version is often sought after by fans, it also has a little error here. It says, if you could see it here, it says, "A little help from my friends." It's supposed to be "with a little help from my friends." This means that it's the very first pressing of the American version of the album. But that's pretty interesting that I was able to find that. However, I had to tape the top of the cover because that was ripped. That's the way it came. And funny thing is, I have 3 more Sgt. Peppers, which I'll show you very briefly. I got this one the other day. And this one comes with the cardboard cutouts. None of my other copies have that. And it's in very good condition. Here's the record label itself. See, the text is a bit different. It's in a much bolder font. It's probably from like late 1967, maybe early 1968. I don't know. Here we have another pressing of Sgt. Pepper. This is a much later pressing. Of course, you could tell it's the stereo version because it's a stereo right across the top. This is the Apple version. And the other Sgt. Pepper record I have is the same exact thing. It's just that the condition of the album is much worse. But Sgt. Pepper, what can I say? Excellent, excellent album. It deserves to be #1 album on Rolling Stone's list, in my opinion. Hold on one sec. I'm going to get some more Beatles albums. Just move these forward a bit. Alright. Alright. Now, let's move on. This is one of my favorite Beatles albums. This was released in the US November 27th, 1967. It's Magical Mystery Tour. In the United Kingdom, Magical Mystery Tour was a 6-song double extended play set with just the songs from the movie, but the American album took the songs from that 6-song extended play record and added the singles from 1967 on side 2 and made a full album out of it. It has the whole booklet in here. Let me just get it out neatly here. And I love this album. I think it's awesome. This is an early pressing, probably one of the first pressings actually. It's in great condition, and it has legendary Beatles songs on here. All You Need Is Love and Strawberry Fields Forever. Let me just put it back in neatly. And this other pressing I have here is a much later pressing from about 1976. It has that reddish capital label. I'll show you that very briefly. There are some pressings of Sgt. Pepper that simply omit this little caption down here, 24-page full-color book, and just puts a bar there. And it doesn't come with the book. But it's still, I think it's still a gatefold sleeve. Here's the, get it out neatly here. Yeah, it's from around 1976, 1975 maybe. I don't know, I'd have to go back on that. I found this great website that shows you the different pressings of Beatles albums and how the pressings are different and what years the different pressings are from. Alright, tilt the camera. Next up, another legendary Beatles album. It's the White Album, or the real name of it is The Beatles. If you can look very closely there, you can see the title embedded into the cover. That's the way the early pressings came in. The little serial number down here. And this isn't in the best of condition. That's the way it came. Someone gave it to me, and it just wasn't in that great condition. It comes with the poster, but it doesn't come with the 4 photos. I'll show you one of the records very quickly. This was released November 22nd, 1968, and I think it's great. I mean, you can't go wrong with a Beatles double album. And this is an early pressing, too. I think it's the first pressing, believe it or not. And here's a later pressing of the White Album. As you can see, the title's just printed on the cover. It's not embedded. And no serial number. The back of it. Yeah, it's not in very good condition. And it was missing record 1. I already had a copy of record 1 on Apple, so I put it in there. But the other record in there is 1976 pressing. Let me show you that very quickly. Yeah. Not in best condition, but still a nice addition to the collection nonetheless. Alright, here's another British album. The Yellow Submarine soundtrack, which was released January 17th, 1969. And differences between the American and the British version is that if you look at this caption, it says nothing is real. That's not in the American version. Also, the back of the American version is way different. The back of the British edition just has a review of the White Album. I don't think this album reached #1. I think the White Album was still #1 at the time this album came out. Introduces some new Beatles songs that appeared in the film. Here's the label. I think it's a first pressing. And the score by George Martin is not bad either. It's a nice addition to any collection, though. Next up, here's another British album. This is Abbey Road, another legendary Beatles album, and one of my all-time favorites. And I think this is an original pressing, too. Yeah, Abbey Road, it's a phenomenal album. Let me show you the record. I got this, plus that British Yellow Submarine, plus that, that British version of With the Beatles at somebody was selling their records, and I got them as a 3-record set for $20. Phenomenal album. Some people argue that it's the greatest Beatle album ever. I think it is one of their greatest, definitely. Every track is just awesome on that album. And the closing medley, yeah, you can't go wrong. And next up is the American version of the album. This was released, the original was released September 26, 1969. The American version was released October 1st. And this is an original Apple pressing right here. There's the back of it. Here we got another American pressing. This one's sealed and it has a price sticker on it. I don't need to show the back. That little square on the bottom of the thing there is not on there. Some copies have the square, some little square there, but it's not in this one. Abbey Road. Alright, I'm going to stop the video right here.